The team of Universe 7 begins to assemble as the Tournament of Power is now only a few hours away, with the new team leader Gohan having to assemble and reassess each member on the Universe 7 team. But alongside having to make the assessment, Majin Buu happens to be missing, as now Goku and the gang struggle to find some replacement, as now Universe 7 is down one member. Meanwhile, the other universes come together in preparation, as we see both new and familiar faces come about, as the Tournament of Power is literally only hours away from beginning. What's going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my Dragon Ball Super episode 91 breakdown review entitled Which Universe Will Survive? The Strongest Warriors Gather, leading into next week's exciting episode of Dragon Ball Super episode 92, as we are literally only moments away from starting the tournament. So a quick plug before we begin: in case you guys are not following me at Twitter, be sure to go ahead and head over to UnrealEntGaming on Twitter and hit that follow button. That way you guys are always in the loop with all the latest in Dragon Ball news, information, and content. And don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to the channel in case you guys are new for all the latest in Dragon Ball reviews, discussions, mod battles, and more. Tons of awesome content on the channel. If you guys want to go ahead and keep up with all the latest content, go ahead and turn on notifications if you guys want to become a Super Saiyan God. It greatly means a lot to me that you guys support the channel, and I thank you guys for tuning into the video. Now, Dragon Ball Super episode 92 showcases something very interesting and what we've all wanted to see, and one of which having to be Cabba in trying to get Khalifa and Kale to become Super Saiyans. Now, in next week's preview, we also get to see how Khalifa actually achieves the Super Saiyan form. Now, if there's one thing to keep in mind, it's the fact that if you pay close attention to Kale while she's observing Khalifa transform into a Super Saiyan and Cabba, she seems to have this very deceptive like look on her face. She seems to have like this smirk. She's very low-key behind the rocks. So what does Kale know about the Super Saiyan transformation that Cabba and Khalifa do not? And it looks like after Kali transforms into a Super Saiyan, she slowly demonstrates her power by firing off this red ki blast, in which I will have to say looks very cool. However, what does Kale know that nobody else does not? Also, we get to see during the preview for the first time Moscow's universe having to assemble, that being the Machine God of Destruction, and it looks like that his team are also going to be artificial like combat warriors, because we get to see, you know, bits and pieces of their eyes. We get to see they look like they're made out of machines. So perhaps maybe Moscow's fighters are going to be android-like fighters, perhaps maybe cyborgs. They're definitely going to be machine-like in nature, but how powerful are they going to be in comparison to the androids, which I find to be very awesome, because we're going to have Moscow's fighters collide against some of the androids during this Tournament of Power. But also, if you look at the preview, it's finally time for everyone to get together, and with that being said, there is an emergency. Majin Buu cannot wake up, which sets itself up for the return of Frieza, in which Frieza is going to be a part of the team, as Goku requests for him during Dragon Ball Super episode 93. And with that being said, it looks like there's no hope for Majin Buu. And granted, with that, it may be a good or bad thing, but I think it's definitely a good thing, as in this episode, we got to see something from Frost and Hit that I found to be very surprising, and one of which having to be Hit telling Frost that he had definitely improved ever since the last time he had been during the Universe 7 versus Universe 6 tournament, which ultimately means that despite everything and anything Frost has done, he has managed to get stronger. Why? Because he actually forced Hit to try hard just for a moment in order to get Frost to listen to his offer, and of course Hit explained the Universal Tournament to Frost as he told him about what may potentially happen if they lose the tournament. However, he also told him that if you don't come with me right now, I will kill you on the spot. So not only did Hit confirm that Frost had gotten stronger, but we also get confirmation that Frost can actually shoot needles from his tail, from his wrist, and I do think that at some given point in this tournament, if you allow Frost to do this, he is going to become a problem, especially for someone like Frieza, who's been in hell this entire time in that cocoon, not receiving any training, whereas opposed to Frost now, he's improved. Even though he is running from the law, he is wanted throughout the entire universe. We saw how he was trying to grovel to Hit at first and trying not to get Hit to kill him, which I thought was pretty cool, because again, that goes to show Frost's deceptive nature, because as soon as he was apologizing and spilling his emotions as to how worried he was and how sorry he was, we saw how he attacked Hit, as it was all a lie until Hit told him, if you don't join, I will kill you. But I also want to talk about Super Saiyan Blue Goku training with the likes of Whis. Now, this was a very good thing to see, because so far the entirety of Dragon Ball Super has been built on Goku and Vegeta having to train with each other, having to train with the deities such as Whis, as we've seen before, and now we get to see Super Saiyan Blue Goku battle Whis inside of the Capsule Corp gravity room, in which Vegeta used to use to train. Of course, we know that Vegeta goes into the time chamber separately, but we see how Goku battles Whis, and we see how the gravity is also on, which makes things that much more difficult for them to train. But despite how strong Goku is, Whis still manages to completely outclass him in every way, shape, or form, until of course Goku bites onto Whis' hand. But just as Goku was training with Whis, we also get to see Vegeta, and Mr. Popo told Vegeta that you are banned from going to the time chamber based on what you've done. And what's crazy about Vegeta is he still goes inside anyway, and one has to ask themselves as to why this is the case, if Vegeta is gonna get in trouble or is prohibited from ever using the time chamber ever again. Either way, the Daishinkan is preventing the Omni Kings from causing any much damage, not just to the universe, but to each other as well, because as they're playing the whole rock, paper, scissors game, we see how the Daishinkan introduces each individual universe, and I do think that, in my opinion, this actually may be foreshadowing the Omni Kings looking at each and every single other universe and trying to see that by the end, they may in fact not destroy the universes at all. That's up in the air right now, because either way, this tournament may go in any direction. But we also get to see Universe 9, and Universe 9 always seems like a universe that's ravaged in war, because as we saw Sidra, Bergamo, Lavender, and Basil, with Sidra having to ask Basil as to how many people they recruited, with Basil having to reply by saying none, and at that very point we see Sidra stick his hand out and saying Hakai, and it is indeed a move that is used to destroy everything, because at that very point everything was gone. So finally, that is a plus for this episode, because you have to ask yourself, besides Beerus using the Hakai on Zamasu and using the Hakai on that ghost during that one episode, how many other gods have we seen do anything in this show? Zero. And now we have another destroyer, another god having to use the Hakai move. So it goes without question that the technique known as the Hakai is actually something used by each and every individual god to destroy what needs to be destroyed. So overall, if you look at the focus of this episode, I think was definitely the gathering, but I also want to touch up on Frost versus Hit, because during that whole sequence, Frost could have died effortlessly against Hit, because Hit was looking for him. And I do want to also stress the idea on how strong Hit may have gotten as well, because in the beginning, Hit said it's been a while. So it's been a while since he's seen Frost. Frost is on the run, and I also want to focus on Frost, because during this whole Tournament of Power, one of the biggest fights that everyone wants to see is going to be Frost versus Frieza. Because this whole time, we see how Hit is talking to Frost about a business proposition, and we see how he immediately just turns his back on him. So, if in fact Frieza tries to do the same thing and trying to offer Frost some sort of a proposition or a business proposal, I could see the same thing happening based on what we saw in this episode, and Frost having to do the exact same thing against Frieza. However, I do also want to go on a rant and talk about Master Roshi, because that's the one thing I did not like about this episode, because instead of Roshi getting stronger, instead of Roshi having to train, instead of Roshi doing anything, all he's doing is he goes up to Yamcha, he asks Puar to change into like this really hot female, and he's running around. I mean, listen, you can run around all you want. Running around after a hot female isn't going to make you stronger. Surely it's going to increase your cardio, but having to think about this realistically, the only person right now training is Vegeta and Goku. We saw Goku fight with Whis, we see Vegeta in the time chamber, Gohan's trying to strategize, and everyone else is just bumming around. We see how Piccolo and Tien, maybe they're meditating, they're the only ones doing something outside of this, but Roshi isn't doing anything aside from just being a perv, and that's just typical Roshi. But despite everything we've seen, I still think that Master Roshi should have been at least training with Tien Shinhan, because realistically speaking here, they are the only two that desperately need some help in this Tournament of Power. We saw how weak and pathetic Tien Shinhan was, so why not do something with him and Master Roshi? But either way, what's also justified here is the way that Daishinkan explains to the Omni Kings about who the Pride Troopers are, and saying that they are representatives of justice, but they're also good people as well, as we see one of the Pride Troopers trying to rescue a cat and whatnot. So this was a very enjoyable episode, but the focus here is the fact that Hit was talking to Frost and even pointing out to remove all of his needles, because if someone were to find out that he's cheating, he will get erased. And he even pointed out that Frost had a needle in his heel, and you know, as cunning as Frost is, he was like, so you knew. So I love that about the character. But either way, I want to know your thoughts down below on this episode, because for me, if you look at the entirety of this episode, it looks like we also have a quote-unquote female Zarbon, because this one beautiful chick transformed into this hideous, ugly Teletubby-like monster. And I think that, to me personally, it was just really, you know, just awful to see. But either way, I think that the focus for next week is going to be Khalifa and Kaba in training, and we also get to see Kale watching. So I do think that either A, Kale knows about what the Super Saiyan transformation is and she's hiding it, or B, she's either jealous of Kaba having to train with Khalifa again. It's kind of like a weird thing going on. Another thing I do want to complain about is Gowasu's universe. We see Gowasu, it looks like he's about to record, you know, the most nastiest porno in the world involving one of the angels and all 10 of the competitors, in which I still think there's no hope for Universe 10, because even if that's the case, what more can you do? And I think that even though they're doing something, it's made out to be a joke. And I think the only serious part here was definitely Frost and Hit. They look to be the most serious. Universe number 9 and Universe number 10 just seem like they don't know what they're doing. First of all, Universe number 9 doesn't even have any fighters, you know, rounded up for their team, and Universe number 10 just seems to have a bunch of bodybuilders just dancing around and whatnot. But I want to know your thoughts down below. What are your overall expectations for next week's episode, guys? What are your overall thoughts on Kali having to finally become a Super Saiyan? What are your overall thoughts on Hit's proposition for Frost and letting him know about the tournament and having to be requested by the God of Destruction, Champa? I do think that Champa is definitely playing it safe now, in the idea that I think Champa definitely doesn't want to lose to his brother. I think that Champa is going into this very well prepared, so Champa may have the edge here. Champa's universe may have the edge. But what are your overall thoughts, guys? Comment down below, let me know. Thank you all for watching. Once again, if you guys are new to the channel, if you guys love Dragon Ball, be sure to go on ahead and subscribe for more news, information, and updates. What are your overall thoughts on having to see, you know, Universe number 9, Universe number 10, Universe number 6, Universe number 7, everyone having to pretty much trying to gather up their team and trying to recruit one another? What are your overall expectations for next week's episode, guys? What did you guys like about this episode, and what did you guys hate about this episode? Post your comments down below, guys. Thank you all for watching once again. Tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Take it easy, guys. Peace.